If you went back 20 years and told someone that by 2026, a Chinese car company would be mass producing a 6-wheeled electric truck with a 2-seat aircraft folded up inside the back, and that you could press a button, watch the aircraft unfold itself, detach from the truck, and fly 2 people through the air while the truck waits on the ground below, they would have asked what movie you were describing. That is not a movie. That is a product. It has a factory, it has a price tag, it has 7,000 paying customers waiting for delivery, and the first units are rolling off the production line right now. The company is called XPeng. The vehicle is called the Land Aircraft Carrier, and it might be the single strangest real product that any automaker on Earth has ever put into production. If you enjoy videos about technology that changes the rules of what is possible, hit like and subscribe so you never miss one. Let me walk you through how this thing actually works, because the engineering is wilder than the name. For as long as cars have existed, people have been trying to make them fly. It is one of those ideas that shows up in every decade like clockwork. The 1940s had the amphibian. The 1970s had the Ave Mazar, which was literally a Ford Pinto bolted to the bottom of a Cessna wing. It crashed on a test flight and killed 2 people. The 2000s had a dozen startups that raised millions, built slick concept videos, and went bankrupt before producing a single vehicle. Flying cars have been the punchline of technology for 80 years. Every time someone announces one, the automatic response is, "Sure, just like last time." So the first thing you need to understand about the Land Aircraft Carrier is why it is not like last time. And the answer comes down to one decision that nobody else had made before. Every previous flying car tried to be one machine that does 2 jobs: a car that also flies, or a plane that also drives. And the problem is that those 2 jobs fight each other. A car needs to be heavy because heavy things are stable on the road and survive crashes. An aircraft needs to be light because light things use less energy to stay in the air. A car needs wheels and suspension and crash structure and airbags. An aircraft needs rotors and flight controls and lightweight wings. Cramming all of that into a single frame means every part of the machine is a compromise. Too heavy to fly well, too fragile to drive well. That is why every single one-machine flying car in history has either failed, crashed, or stayed in a garage as a concept that never shipped. XPeng did not build a flying car. They built 2 separate machines and put one inside the other. The ground vehicle, which they call the mothership, is a 6-wheeled electric truck about 5.5 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 2 meters tall. 6 wheels, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel steering, and a range-extended electric powertrain that gives it over 1,000 kilometers of range on the Chinese test cycle. That is roughly 620 miles. It seats 4 people and drives on a standard Chinese driver's license. No special permit for the truck. It is a legitimate road vehicle that handles off-road terrain because of the 6-wheel setup with a locking differential. The aircraft is stored in a bay at the back of the truck. When you are ready to fly, you press a button. The bay opens, the aircraft rolls itself out on its own landing gear. Its 6 arms unfold, its 6 rotors deploy, 2 people climb in, and it takes off vertically. No runway, no airport, just a flat patch of ground. The aircraft is built from carbon fiber, so it stays light. It weighs about 360 kilograms. The cockpit has a 270-degree panoramic view. It carries 2 people and is controlled with a single lever plus AI-assisted flight stabilization. XPeng says the system is designed so that someone with no flight experience can learn to operate it safely. For now, Chinese regulators require a special license, but the long-term goal is something closer to what a drone operator holds today. Once you land, the aircraft rolls itself back into the mothership and docks. The truck's battery recharges the aircraft's battery from 30 to 80% in about 18 minutes. On a full charge of the truck, you can do 5 to 6 complete flights without plugging in anywhere. The truck is both the transport and the charging station. That dual role is what makes the whole system actually usable in the real world, instead of being a gadget that only works near an airport. The vehicle was in development for 13 years. Not 13 months, 13 years. XPeng's aerospace division, which recently rebranded as Aridge, started working on this in 2013, when the idea of a mass-produced flying car was not bold, it was ridiculous. The founder, Joby, is himself an experienced pilot who has personally flown the prototype on test flights. The factory is in Guangzhou. It covers 120,000 square meters and is designed to produce up to 10,000 units per year. The first unit rolled off the production line in November 2025. The system received type certificate acceptance from the Civil Aviation Administration of China, which is the Chinese equivalent of the FAA. The price is set at under 2 million yuan, which comes out to roughly 280,000 US dollars. 7,000 people have placed orders. About 600 of those came from a single signing event in Dubai, with buyers from the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait. XPeng showed the land aircraft carrier in Munich just last week, the first time it has been displayed outside Asia. The founder told the audience in Germany that this is not a concept vehicle. It is entering mass production this year. Now here is where the story gets interesting, because what XPeng built is impressive on its own, but the real shock is what is happening around it. While XPeng was building its flying car, the Chinese government was building the ground it would take off from. Shenzhen, one of China's largest cities, has already constructed more than 1,200 takeoff and landing pads for drones and eVTOL aircraft. Not planned, built, operational. The city invested 12 billion yuan, about 1.7 billion US dollars, in low-altitude infrastructure over just 2 years. They have laid down a 5G communications network specifically designed to manage air traffic below 600 meters. They have opened over 300 drone logistics routes. Cargo drones are already flying across the city delivering packages, crossing open water, and operating in commercial districts. Shenzhen alone has more low-altitude infrastructure operational right now than the entire continent of Europe has in planning. One city. China overall accounts for more than half of all the vertiports being built or planned in the world. 752 facilities out of roughly 1,500 globally. Chinese eVTOL manufacturers, including EHang, Autoflight, and XPeng, have logged over 100,000 combined flight hours. Now compare that with what is happening in the United States. Joby Aviation, the most well-funded American eVTOL company, has been working toward FAA certification for years. As of mid-2026, they are roughly 85% through the process, but still do not have a type certificate. Analysts estimate they might get it by mid-2027, with only a 20 to 30% probability of hitting that date. Archer Aviation, their main competitor, is targeting 2028 at the earliest. Industry analysts published a report earlier this year with a title that sums up the situation pretty bluntly: no US eVTOL will certify in 2026. Meanwhile, EHang in China received its type certificate from the CAAC back in October 2023. It got its production certificate in 2024 and its air operator certificate in 2025. It is already running commercial passenger flights between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. The entire certification process took 31 months. American companies are looking at timelines 3 to 4 times that length and still slipping. The gap is not talent. American eVTOL companies have some of the best aerospace engineers on the planet. The gap is infrastructure and speed of execution. China is building the landing pads, writing the airspace rules, certifying the aircraft, and training the operators all at the same time. The US is doing each of those things one by one in sequence, and each step takes years. That matters because flying vehicles are not useful without places to fly them. You can build the best eVTOL aircraft in history, but if there is nowhere to take off and nowhere to land, it stays in a hangar. China understood that early and started building the network before the vehicles were ready. By the time XPeng's land aircraft carrier begins deliveries later this year, the infrastructure will already be waiting. There are things worth being skeptical about. This is still an early product in a category that has burned through more hype than almost any technology in history. The price is $280,000, which limits the buyer pool to wealthy early adopters and commercial tourism operators. Regulatory approval for flying the aircraft in European or American airspace is not even close. XPeng showed the land aircraft carrier in Munich, but you cannot fly it in Germany. That is years away, if it happens at all. Battery technology is also a constraint. The flight module runs on a battery that allows 5 to 6 flights per truck charge. That is enough for scenic tourism and recreational flying, which is where XPeng is initially targeting the product. But turning this into daily commuter transport would require energy density improvements that have not happened yet. And there is the trust question. Getting people comfortable climbing into a 6-rotor electric aircraft and flying over terrain with no pilot and minimal training is a psychological barrier as much as a technical one. Consumer drones were scary 10 years ago. Now they are toys. The same shift could happen with personal aircraft, but it will take time and a long safety record. All of that said, there is a factory producing these right now. Not a rendering, not a slide deck. A factory with a production line, turning out finished vehicles, with 7,000 customers who have put down money. That is different from anything that has come before in the history of flying cars. Every previous attempt died at the concept stage or the prototype stage. This one is past both. XPeng also showed a humanoid robot called Iron at the same Munich event last week. The company is building vehicles that drive themselves, aircraft that fly themselves, and robots that walk on 2 legs. A car company. 5 years ago they were selling sedans. Now they are building what looks like a transportation ecosystem that covers the ground, the sky, and eventually the spaces in between. Whether this particular product becomes a mainstream vehicle or remains a niche toy for wealthy adventure seekers, the signal it sends is hard to ignore. A Chinese manufacturer just did the thing that every Western aerospace startup has been promising and failing to deliver for 2 decades. They built a flying car, opened a factory, took thousands of orders, and started production. Not next year, not pending certification, now. If this video changed what you thought was possible in transportation, hit like and subscribe for more. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And I want to hear from you. If you had a vehicle that could drive 1,000 kilometers on the road and then fly you over any obstacle in the way, where is the first place you would go? Drop your answer in the comments.